2 weeks later, Olivia stood in the Grand Hall of the Confederation Council. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from all member species. The mood was tense, fearful. Ambassador Harris stood on the speaking platform beside her. They had traveled directly from Outpost Sentinel to present their case. "The evidence is clear," Harris said, his voice echoing through the hall. "The convergence has already destroyed 3 civilizations beyond the rim. Now they're here, in your space. The attack on Outpost Sentinel was just the beginning." Krulvok stepped forward, his old frame now straight with purpose. "I have verified the human data. The convergence is real, and they are coming for us all." A Sabraxian elder rose from her seat. "We have ancient records, stories passed down through generations. They speak of a time when our ancestors faced a great devouring swarm from the void. Our homeworld was nearly lost." "How did you survive?" asked a Vordelian representative. "The records are unclear," the elder admitted, "but they suggest our people hid their core worlds, abandoning the outer colonies to the swarm." Harris shook his head. "Hiding won't work this time. The convergence has evolved. They can track quantum signatures now. There is nowhere in this galaxy to hide." The council chamber erupted in fearful voices. The Confederation had never faced a threat of this magnitude. "What do you propose, human?" asked the High Counselor, a Medusan whose telepathic voice cut through the noise. "A mutual defense pact," Harris replied. "Human ships and troops deployed throughout Confederation space. Joint command structures. Complete information sharing." The room fell silent. What Harris proposed was unthinkable, allowing humans beyond the boundary in force. "You ask us to invite the very species we have feared for centuries into our homes," the High Counselor said. "Yes," Harris said simply, "because what you fear about us, our capacity for war, our unpredictability, our refusal to accept defeat, these are exactly the qualities needed to fight the convergence." Before the council could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A Vordelian communications officer rushed in. "The outer colony of New Xebros is under attack. The convergence fleet has arrived." Screens activated around the chamber, showing grainy footage of strange organic ships descending on a peaceful world. The defenders were being overwhelmed in minutes. "You have a choice," Harris said into the stunned silence. "Maintain your fear of humans and face extinction, or accept our help and survive." The High Counselor looked around at the frightened faces of the council members. Then, with a gesture that would change galactic history, he reached out and took Harris's hand. "The boundary is erased," he declared. "We accept your offer, human." 1 month later, Olivia stood on the bridge of the human flagship *Resilience*. Admiral Blackwell had appointed her as liaison officer between human and Confederation forces. Through the view screen, she watched as human ships moved into position around a vulnerable Confederation world. The first wave of the convergence fleet was approaching. "They still fear us," Olivia said to Admiral Blackwell, nodding toward the Confederation officers who kept their distance from the human crew. "Fear can be useful," Blackwell replied. "But it's not what will win this war. What will? Understanding. On both sides." The Admiral gestured to the mixed crew on the bridge. "We've lived behind our boundary for too long, letting legends grow. They've lived with those legends, never knowing the truth." A young human officer approached with a report. Nearby, a Sabraxian technician flinched slightly. "It will take time," Olivia acknowledged. "Time we may not have." Blackwell's eyes focused on the approaching enemy ships. "But perhaps enough time to start." "Start what?" "Building something better than fear." Blackwell smiled slightly. "The convergence thinks they're facing divided species. Instead, they'll face what happens when humanity's strength combines with Confederation knowledge." The alarm sounded as the enemy entered range. "All ships, battle formation," Blackwell ordered. "Confederation crews, follow your human counterparts' lead." As human and alien crews worked together for the first time, Olivia realized the red line on the galactic map was truly gone. In its place was something new, not friendship yet, perhaps not even trust, but a beginning. And against the darkness approaching, a beginning was enough. Powell led the group through narrow corridors that seemed to shift and change as they ran. The station was still reconfiguring itself for battle. "What about the crew?" Olivia asked as they reached the evacuation bay. "Most will stay and fight," Powell replied, her face grim. "It's what we do." The bay contained 12 small shuttles. Powell directed them toward the nearest one. "This will take you back to Confederation space. The autopilot is present." Captain Rill hurried aboard, clearly eager to escape. But Krell hesitated. "I've spent my life studying the past," the old archivist said quietly. "Perhaps I should stay and witness this moment for future records." "There won't be future records if the Convergence wins," Hull said. "Go. Tell your people what you've seen here. They need to prepare." A tremendous impact shook the station. Lights flickered and alarms blared louder. "Primary shields failing," announced the station's computer. "Deploying secondary defense grid." Olivia made a sudden decision. "I'm staying too." Powell stared at her. "Why would you risk your life?" "Because I need to understand. Really understand." Olivia turned to Krellvox. "Go back. Tell the Confederation what's happening. I'll remain as witness." After a moment's hesitation, the archivist nodded and boarded the shuttle with Captain Rill. The doors sealed, and the small vessel launched into space. "Now what?" Olivia asked Powell. "Now we go to the command center. If you want to understand humans, that's where you'll see us at our best." They made their way deeper into the station. All around them, human crew members moved with calm efficiency despite the crisis. No one was panicking. The command center was smaller than Olivia expected. About 20 humans sat at various stations. In the center stood Ambassador Harris and Captain Morgan, studying a three-dimensional display of the battle. The massive Convergence ship was firing strange, organic-looking projectiles at the station. The station's defenses were destroying most of them, but some got through, attaching to the outer hull like parasites. "They're trying to board us," Morgan noted calmly. "Activate internal defense drones." "Already done," a young female officer replied. "And Captain, the Defiance has moved to attack position." The display showed the small patrol ship that had rescued them earlier. It looked tiny compared to the massive enemy vessel. "What can such a small ship do against that monster?" Olivia whispered to Powell. "Watch," Powell said simply. The Defiance darted toward the Convergence ship, moving in impossible patterns. Where the station's defensive fire was calculated and precise, the small ship moved like a living thing, unpredictable and wild. It fired what looked like small pods rather than weapons. These attached to the huge enemy vessel at specific points. "Targeting nodes placed," reported an officer. "Activating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The pods glowed briefly, then energy surged through the Convergence ship. Parts of it began to wither and die, like a plant suddenly deprived of water. "Biological disruptors," Powell explained to Olivia. "The Convergence ships are living organisms. We attack them like a virus attacks a body." A new alarm sounded. A different officer called out, "Incoming ships. Multiple signatures. They're ours. The 7th Fleet has arrived." The display filled with dozens of human vessels, each different in design. Unlike the uniform ships of the Confederation, human vessels were wildly varied, as if each had been built for a specific purpose. Admiral Sophia Blackwell's face appeared on the main screen. She was an older woman with short gray hair and hard eyes. "Outpost Sentinel, this is Fleet Command. Hold position. We'll handle the Convergence ship." The human fleet moved with beautiful coordination, like dancers performing a deadly ballet. Each ship attacked a different part of the enemy vessel, targeting specific vulnerabilities. "They're communicating directly mind to mind," Powell said quietly to Olivia. Neural networks allow our ships to function as one organism when needed. The massive convergence ship began to break apart under the assault. But before it died, it broadcast a signal, a screech of sound that made everyone cover their ears in pain. What was that? Olivia asked when it ended. Admiral Blackwell's expression was grim. A death cry, and a summons. The main fleet is coming. The station alarms blared before anyone could ask more questions about the convergence. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Station defense systems activated, announced a calm computerized voice. Unknown vessels approaching. All personnel to defense stations. Captain Morgan moved quickly to a control panel. 3 ships, unknown configuration, approaching at high speed. They're not responding to hails. He looked at Harris. This is it, isn't it? The ambassador nodded grimly. First wave scouts. They're testing our defenses. Outpost Sentinel shuddered as something hit its shields. The lights dimmed briefly. Direct energy weapon impact, reported the station's computer. Shields at 87%. Captain Rell backed against the wall, eyes wide with fear. What do they want? Who are they? They want what all hive minds want, Harris said, his voice hard. To consume and incorporate. They don't negotiate or communicate. They assimilate or destroy. Another impact rocked the station. Shields at 62%. The computer announced. Breach possible in 4 minutes. Morgan tapped his communication device. Activate Protocol Omega. Authorization Morgan 7 Delta 9. The floor beneath them hummed as hidden systems came to life. The walls seemed to shift, revealing weapons stations that hadn't been visible before. All of you, stay here, Morgan ordered the Confederation visitors. This area is a secure bunker. Ambassador, you're with me. As Morgan and Harris left, Olivia turned to Powell. What's happening? What is Protocol Omega? Before Powell could answer, a view screen activated automatically. It showed the space around the station, where 3 dark, organic-looking ships were firing strange energy beams at the outpost. Then something remarkable happened. The hull of Outpost Sentinel began to change. What had appeared to be a standard space station was transforming. Sections shifted and reconfigured. Weapon ports opened where none had existed before. The entire structure seemed alive, responding to the attack like an immune system. My God, whispered Krelvox. The station is adapting. Biomechanical response systems, Powell explained. The station is learning from the attack and reconfiguring to defend itself. Energy beams lanced out from the transformed station, striking one of the attacking ships. Instead of exploding, the ship seemed to dissolve, breaking apart at the molecular level. The remaining ships changed their approach, moving in patterns that seemed impossible to predict. But the station's weapons tracked them perfectly, always firing where the ships would be, not where they were. How is it doing that? Olivia asked in awe. The station's defense system is partially controlled by human minds, Powell said. Volunteers link directly to the weapons. They can predict movement patterns no computer could calculate. Within minutes, all 3 attacking ships had been destroyed. But instead of celebration, the humans on the view screen looked grim. Status report, Morgan demanded from someone off-screen. The ships were empty, Captain, came the reply. No organic components detected. They were drones. Where's the control ship? Before anyone could answer, a massive shadow fell over the station. On the view screen, a ship appeared that dwarfed Outpost Sentinel. It was unlike anything Olivia had ever seen. Not built but grown, a massive living organism, shaped like a predatory sea creature from ancient Earth. Convergence mothership detected. The station's computer announced. Size estimate. 12 kilometers in length. Energy signature beyond measurable scale. Captain Morgan's face appeared on a separate screen. Dr. Powell, get our guests to the evacuation shuttles immediately. We can't hold against that thing. What about you? Powell asked. Morgan's expression was calm, almost serene. "The station has to be defended until reinforcements arrive. We'll hold as long as we can." Powell grabbed Olivia's arm. "Come on, we need to move now." As they rushed toward the evacuation area, Olivia looked back at the view screen. Human crew members were running to battle stations, not in panic but with determined focus. They were preparing to fight something that should have terrified them, yet they showed no fear. For the first time, Olivia understood why the galaxy feared humans, and why, perhaps, it needed them. The next morning, Dr. Powell invited Olivia to a restricted section of Outpost Sentinel. She used her hand to scan them through several security doors until they reached a room filled with glowing displays. "This is our historical archive," Powell explained. "Very few non-humans have ever seen this place." She activated the main display. Images of Earth appeared. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. Beautiful, like many living worlds. Then the images changed to show cities burning, oceans rising, and skies filled with ash. "Our first recorded extinction-level event," Powell said. "Climate collapse. Over 2 billion people died." The images continued, showing humans rebuilding, then facing new disasters. Asteroid impacts, plagues, and terrible wars. "This was our history for thousands of years. Disaster, survival, rebuilding, repeat." Powell's voice was soft. "Each time, we came back stronger. Each time, we developed new technologies, new ways of thinking." "How did you survive so many disasters?" Olivia asked. "We adapted. Where most species evolved in stable environments, humans evolved in constant chaos. Our minds developed to handle crisis as a normal state." Powell pointed to a new image showing human brain scans. "See these patterns? They're unique among all known sentient species. We process fear, danger, and change differently." Powell moved to another display. It showed alien ships watching Earth from orbit. The Confederation wasn't the first to find us. Dozens of species observed Earth over the centuries. Most left immediately after seeing our conflicts. They didn't understand what they were witnessing. "What were they witnessing?" Olivia asked. "Evolution through fire," Powell answered. "Each disaster forced us to innovate or die. We chose innovation. By the time we reached space, we had technologies that took other species thousands of peaceful years to develop." Powell led Olivia to a sealed door at the back of the room. It opened to reveal a small chamber containing a single artifact, a twisted piece of metal in a protective case. "This is a fragment from the Confederation flagship that first entered our space, the only piece we recovered intact." Olivia looked closely at the metal. It seemed ordinary. "Their weapons couldn't penetrate our shields," Howell continued. "But ours went through their most advanced armor like it wasn't there. Not because we wanted to destroy them, but because we'd been forced to develop weapons that could save us from extinction-level threats." "So the Confederation fears you because you're more advanced." Powell shook her head. "They fear us because they don't understand us. Their civilizations developed slowly, carefully, with minimal threats. They can't comprehend a species that evolved through constant disaster." An alert sounded throughout the station. Powell checked her communication device. "We need to return to the main level. Something's happening." They hurried back to find Krellbox in heated argument with Captain Morgan. The old archivist was shaking with anger. "You've been inside our systems all along, haven't you?" he shouted at Morgan. "Spying on the Confederation." "Not spying," Morgan replied calmly. "Monitoring. There's a difference." Ambassador Harris entered with Captain Rell. "It's time for honesty," Harris said. "Show them what we found." Morgan activated a large display. It showed a star map of Confederation space with dozens of red dots blinking at various points. "Each red marker indicates an infiltration point," Morgan explained. "Something has been quietly entering Confederation territory for years. Something that disguises itself as normal space debris." "Impossible," Rell stammered. "Our detection systems would have." Your detection systems are looking for known threats. Harris interrupted. This is something new, or very, very old. Powell turned to Olivia. This is why the boundary exists. Not to keep humans contained, but to keep humanity as a last line of defense. The Confederation wasn't ready to face what's coming. We've been preparing for centuries. Krulvok stared at the display, his anger fading to fear. What are they? He whispered. We call them the Convergence, Harris replied. And they've just arrived. The journey to Outpost Sentinel took 3 hours. Olivia spent that time watching the crew of the Celestial Envoy struggle with their new reality. Some hid in their quarters. Others gathered in small groups, whispering fearfully. Captain Rel remained on the bridge, his skin still pale with shock. When they finally docked at the human outpost, Olivia was surprised by how ordinary it looked. She had expected something more intimidating. Weapons, armored guards, displays of power. Instead, the station resembled any Confederation outpost, just with different writing on the walls. Ambassador Harris led a small group including Olivia, Captain Rel, and Krulvox onto the station. Captain Morgan met them at the airlock, now dressed in a simple gray uniform. Welcome to Outpost Sentinel, Morgan said with a smile. I apologize for the circumstances of your arrival. Our engineering team is already examining your ship. Initial assessment suggests deliberate sabotage of your drive systems. Sabotage. Rel's voice squeaked with surprise. Who would dare? That's what we'd like to know, Morgan replied. Ambassador Harris, the station commander would like to speak with you privately. The rest of you will be shown to guest quarters. Dr. Powell will help you get settled. A human female stepped forward. She had dark skin and curly hair pulled back from her face. Her smile seemed genuine. I'm Dr. Natalie Powell, she said. I'm an anthropologist specializing in interspecies relations. If you'll follow me, I'll show you to your accommodations. As they walked through the station corridors, Olivia noticed something odd. There were very few humans visible. Most of the work seemed to be done by machines or AI systems. Where is everyone? She asked Powell. We maintain minimal human presence on border stations, Powell explained. It makes visitors more comfortable. You mean you hide your numbers to seem less threatening, Olivia said. Powell's smile widened. You're very perceptive, Officer Winters. Yes, that's exactly what we do. Humans learned long ago that our very presence can be disturbing to other species. They reached a comfortable lounge area with private rooms branching off from it. Powell showed each of them to their quarters, leaving Olivia for last. I understand you're curious about us, Powell said once they were alone. Most Confederation citizens prefer not to know. They're content with their fears and myths. I want to understand the truth, Olivia replied. Why maintain the boundary? Why allow the fear to continue? Powell considered her words carefully. Sometimes a reputation for being dangerous is more valuable than proving you're not. The boundary works both ways, Officer Winters. It keeps others out, but it also keeps us in. Humanity decided long ago that we needed time to solve our own problems before we fully joined galactic society. Later that evening, Olivia found Ambassador Harris in a viewing lounge, staring out at the stars. You knew the ship was sabotage, she said. It wasn't a question. Harris nodded. I suspected. I've been gathering intelligence for months. Someone doesn't want humans and the Confederation getting closer. Why were we really called back to Earth? Because human long-range sensors have detected something moving toward Confederation space. Something that has destroyed several unaligned civilizations already. Harris turned to face her. The Confederation isn't ready for what's coming. Their ships, their tactics, their very way of thinking, all of it is too rigid, too predictable. And humans aren't. We evolved differently. Constant threats forced us to adapt rapidly, to think creatively, to embrace chaos as a strategy. Harris sighed. What you saw the Defiance do to those pirates was a fraction of our capability. We've been holding back for centuries, afraid of how the galaxy would react if they knew the truth. What truth? That humans aren't just another species trying to survive. We're what happens when a species refuses to die, no matter the cost. Harris's eyes were intense. And now, the galaxy needs exactly what it fears about us. The celestial envoy shuddered again as emergency lights bathed the corridors in red. Olivia helped Krelvox to his feet, and they hurried toward the bridge. Crew members rushed past them, fear evident in their movements. On the bridge, Captain Rel was frantically issuing orders. Ambassador Harris stood calmly in the corner, watching the chaos with an unreadable expression. "Status report," Rel demanded. "Main drive completely offline," replied the Vordelian engineer. "Backup systems failing. We're drifting at increasing speed toward human space. Estimated boundary crossing in 17 minutes. The captain's skin had turned almost white with fear. "Send emergency signals to all Confederation outposts. Request immediate assistance." Olivia approached Harris. "Can't you do something? Contact your people." "Already done," Harris said quietly. "But Confederation ships won't cross the line to help us, and human ships need permission to cross from their side. We're in the worst possible position." The communications officer suddenly straightened. "Captain, incoming transmission from human vessel Defiance *. They're requesting permission to assist." A collective gasp went through the bridge. The display screen activated, showing a human male in a simple dark uniform with minimal markings. "This is Captain Elliot Morgan of Earth Border Patrol Vessel Defiance *. We've detected your drive failure. We can reach your position in 12 minutes. Do you require assistance?" Captain Rel froze, unable to respond. Harris stepped forward. "Captain Morgan, this is Ambassador Harris. The Celestial Envoy is carrying diplomatic personnel from 7 Confederation species. We've lost all propulsion and are drifting into restricted space. Assistance would be greatly appreciated." Morgan nodded. "Understood, Ambassador. We're on our way. Please inform your captain that we'll need to bring your vessel into human space for repairs. We can tow you to Outpost Sentinel." Before anyone could respond, the sensors blared another warning. "Multiple ships decloaking off our port side," shouted the sensor officer. "Raider configuration. They're powering weapons. Pirates. They must have detected the disabled ship and seen an opportunity. They would strip the vessel and sell the crew to slave markets in the outer reaches." "Captain Morgan," Harris said urgently. "We have company. Hostile forces approaching." "We see them," Morgan replied, his tone shifting to something colder. "Change of plans. We're engaging emergency protocols. Hold tight." The screen went dark. Captain Rel turned to Harris, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "What does that mean? What will they do?" Harris looked grim. "It means you're about to see why the boundary exists." 3 minutes later, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence as a ship appeared seemingly out of nowhere. The Defiance was smaller than Olivia had expected, perhaps 1/4 the size of the Celestial Envoy *. It positioned itself between the diplomatic vessel and the approaching raiders. "This is Captain Morgan broadcasting on all frequencies," came the human's voice. "You are engaging a protected vessel in contested space. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately." The pirate response came as weapons fire, a full salvo aimed at the human ship. What happened next would forever change how Olivia viewed humans. The Defiance moved in ways that defied the laws of physics as understood by Confederation science. It twisted between energy beams, seeming to anticipate the attacks before they came. Then it returned fire. The human weapons did not simply damage the pirate vessels. They unmade them. 3 ships vanished in silent flashes of light. 2 more broke apart as though their atomic bonds had simply decided to stop working. In 42 seconds, 8 pirate vessels were reduced to drifting particles. No survivors. No debris larger than a hand. The bridge of the Celestial Envoy was completely silent. Krelvox had collapsed into a chair, muttering ancient prayers. The *Defiance* approached slowly, extending docking tubes. "Sorry about the light show." Morgan's voice came through again, sounding remarkably casual. "We'll have you in tow shortly. Welcome to human space, folks." Olivia arrived at Ambassador Harris's quarters precisely at 600 hours. She found him studying a three-dimensional star chart that hovered in the air. The red boundary line seemed to pulse with warning. "Come in," Harris said without turning around. "Close the door." She did as instructed, noticing that Harris had disabled the room's recording devices. This was against Confederation protocol. "You wanted to know why they fear us," Harris said, shutting down the star chart. "I can't tell you everything, but I can show you something few non-humans have seen." He handed her a small data crystal. Historical records from before the boundary was established. Olivia slipped the crystal into her personal reader. Images filled the air before her. Massive warships, unlike anything in the current Confederation fleet. The ships moved with impossible speed, weapons firing with devastating effect. "Is this human technology?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No, those were Confederation ships, the pride of their fleet 300 years ago." The images shifted. The mighty fleet was now broken, ships torn apart by weapons that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself. A single vessel remained intact, fleeing from smaller craft that moved with precision no Confederation ship could match. What happened to them? Harris's face remained expressionless. "They crossed the line. They found Earth during what we call World War IV. They'd misinterpreted our internal conflicts as a sign of primitive development. They attempted first contact according to standard protocols for pre-spaceflight civilizations. And they caught humanity at its worst moment. We had just developed technologies that should have taken us centuries more to discover. Technologies born from desperation and survival." The images faded. Harris took back the crystal and crushed it in his hand. "Only one ship made it back to Confederation space," he said. "The crew described humans as monsters who could not be reasoned with. The Confederation immediately established the boundary and a policy of non-interference." Olivia tried to process this information. "But you're here." "Humans joined the Confederation eventually. 50 years after the incident, we ventured out with peaceful intentions. By then, we had unified our planet and ended our wars. The Confederation accepted a limited diplomatic presence, but the stories had already spread. The fear was too deeply rooted to erase." Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's alert system. "Approaching transition point to Orion sector. All diplomatic personnel prepare for briefing." In the main briefing room, Captain Rell looked unusually tense. "Our route has been altered," he announced. "We must pass closer to the human boundary than planned due to recent spatial anomalies." Olivia noticed how the alien crew shifted uncomfortably. One Medusan diplomat requested transfer to another mission. Later, Olivia sought out Krelvox again. She found the old archivist in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. "You spoke with the ambassador," he said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes, he showed me records of the first contact." Krelvox sighed. "Not complete records, I'm sure. Do you know what truly terrifies the Confederation about humans?" When Olivia shook her head, he continued, "It's not just their weapons or technology. It's their survival. My species is over 10,000 years old. In that time, we faced 3 extinction-level events. Each nearly destroyed us. And humans. In their short history, they've faced dozens. Wars, plagues, climate collapse, asteroid impacts. Each time, they not only survived, they emerged stronger." The archivist's voice trembled. "The ship that returned from Earth brought back scans of human history. It showed a species that should have died countless times but refused to do so." "That's why we're called back to Earth, isn't it?" Olivia asked. "Something's happening." Before Krelvox could answer, the ship's emergency alarms blared. The vessel shuddered violently, throwing them both against the wall. All personnel to emergency stations. Captain Rel's voice echoed through the ship. Drive system failure imminent. We are drifting toward the boundary. Krulvox's eyes widened with pure terror. We're crossing the line, he whispered. May the ancestors have mercy on us all. The red line stood out boldly on the galactic map. Olivia Winters leaned closer to the display, her eyes narrowing as she studied the stark boundary. Unlike other borders between civilizations, this one had warning symbols and a simple note: restricted zone, no entry. Curious about something, Officer Winters. The voice came from behind her. Olivia straightened up and turned to face Captain Rel, the Vordelian commander of the Confederation vessel Celestial Envoy *. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of mild concern among his kind. Yes, sir. This boundary here, it marks human space, correct? Why is it marked so differently from other borders? The captain's skin shifted from its normal blue to a pale gray. That is not a topic for casual discussion, Officer Winters. The briefing will begin shortly. He moved away swiftly, ending the conversation. Olivia had joined the Confederation Diplomatic Corps just 3 months ago. Her species, the Tyrillians, were the newest members of the galactic community. With their entry so recent, much of the unwritten history of the Confederation remained unknown to her. She took her seat as other officers filed into the briefing room. The mission was straightforward: establish new trade routes through the Orient sector. Nothing in the mission parameters explained why everyone avoided talking about human space. The doors slid open, and conversation in the room instantly died. Ambassador Gregory Harris walked in, his tall frame drawing every eye. He was human, one of only 7 serving in the Confederation Diplomatic Corps. "Good morning," Harris said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I trust everyone has reviewed the mission objectives." Olivia watched as the other diplomats nodded but subtly shifted their chairs away from Harris. The Medusan representative actually changed seats to put more distance between them. "Officer Winters will be accompanying me as junior liaison," Harris continued, nodding toward her. "Given the Tyrillian Confederation membership is still new, this will provide valuable experience." Olivia felt a chill as dozens of alien eyes turned to her, filled with what she could only describe as pity. After the briefing, Olivia found herself alone with Harris in the ship's observation deck. The stars stretched out before them in a dazzling display. "They're afraid of you," she said finally, breaking the silence. "All of them." "Why?" Harris took a long time to answer. "You noticed the red line on the maps?" "Yes, the boundary of human space. Have you ever wondered why, in a galaxy filled with thousands of species, humans have an entire section cordoned off? Why our ambassadors are so few? Why trade with Earth is conducted at arm's length through automated stations? I assumed it was a human preference for isolation," Olivia said. Harris laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's the official explanation, yes." He turned to face her fully. "In 2 days, we'll pass near that boundary on our way to the Orient negotiations. Watch how the crew reacts. Listen to what they say when they think no humans are around." Later that night, Olivia entered the ship's records hall. The elderly Zabraxian keeper, Krulvox, looked up from his console with surprise. "Officer Winters, what brings you to the archives so late?" "I'm looking for information on Earth, on humans." The archivist's whiskers twitched nervously. "Historical data on member species is restricted to need-to-know basis." "But humans aren't just any member species, are they?" Olivia pressed. "That's why there's a line no one crosses." Krulvox looked around as if checking for listeners, then leaned forward. "There are stories," he whispered, "about the first contact, about what happened to the exploration fleet that crossed into their territory." "What stories?" "Stories no one tells anymore, because those who do tend to disappear." The old Zabraxian's eyes clouded with fear. "Ask the ambassador, if you must know. But remember, Officer Winters, some knowledge cannot be unlearned." As Olivia left the archives, Her communication device chimed. It was a message from Ambassador Harris. My quarters, 600 hours. Bring the trade route proposals. And Olivia, prepare yourself. We've been recalled to Earth for special briefing. We cross the line tomorrow.